Welcome, everyone, to our February Valentine's Day edition of EngRes The Gathering. Welcome, if it's your first one, to our loving community, and get ready to share and express a little bit of that love. We're going to help celebrate and welcome everyone to this venue. Quick agenda for today. We're going to go through project updates like usual. We have a lot of awesome spotlights, and we have 3 demos and deep dives. If you want to follow along, please scan the QR code and you can make comments or ask questions in the slide deck as we go through. As our Valentine's Day edition, we'd love to get folks to express a bit of love in the chat as we're going through. So maybe take a moment, think of someone who has made a positive impact on your life in the past couple months. I know 2025 has been a roller coaster so far. And so probably a good opportunity to share a bit of the love. Maybe think about someone who always has your back, someone who makes your week better, someone who saved the day. And just put a note in the chat and we'll shout people out as we go along. So take a moment, think about it, and we'll keep those going as we run through today's agenda. As a reminder, the Protocol Labs community gets together here now every other month to share all of the valuable breakthroughs that are happening kind of from an engineering and research perspective. It's a network full of many different companies and projects who are pushing computing forward to help humanity. We have all of these different organizations and groups that operate across the research to development pipeline. So some folks are working on new research breakthroughs and advising on large-scale cryptography improvements, while other folks are bringing businesses to market and delivering products that people are using every day. So it's awesome to see people crossing this chasm and scaling. Our purpose here in the EngRes working group is to help create visibility and knowledge about cool new protocol improvements that are happening across all these projects, support network native connections so people can connect on research and development work that's happening across the ecosystem, and help grow open source projects, networks, and communities that use this as a watering hole to share the latest and greatest of what's happening. A couple recent launches and upcoming things to highlight. Big snaps to the Filecoin Retro PGF program, which just finished their 2nd round. They are now dripping out rewards using the Drips project, which is helping reward not just the people who were recognized in this project, but also their open source dependencies, which is really cool. So if you haven't yet set up your project via Drips or thought about how you can participate in a Retro PGF reward project, go take a look. Another fun Valentine's Day thing to take a look at is the Love Byte project from Randomoo and FIL Builders. I was playing around with this. It's deployed on, I think it's on Filecoin Calibration Net, and allows you to time lock encrypt a little Valentine's Day message for your sweetie. So maybe an opportunity to send your love and snaps through on-chain decentralized encryption, which is pretty cool. Also, huge congrats to the Checker Network, previously known as Space Meridian, who launched their light paper and are helping expand Filecoin Station, doing their checks into a larger scale network with many different checking subsystems within it. This is actively live checking retrievability within the Filecoin ecosystem, and we'll have many more applications in the future, I'm sure. Also, huge snaps to the Filecoin Foundation for helping preserve cultural heritage archives, making sure that Flickr, Smithsonian, MIT OpenCourseWare, and others can put all of their archives and data on Filecoin, which is pretty cool. Also, huge congrats to Iro, who was recognized as the number 12 top trending project in all of GitHub last month, which is fantastic. Huge congrats, Iro, and really shows the great work they're doing there, fostering a pretty awesome open source project and community. Looking forward, we're going to hear a little bit more later in this call about the next upcoming Filecoin Network version 25, which has some pretty cool new improvements landing within it. Also, if you are excited about the earlier stages of cryptography research and impactful work that we've done there, please apply. I think application is closing pretty soon to become an advisor to the Public Good Crypto team and community. So take a look at that. I actually don't have a link on me, but their application process is open. Maybe Luca can help me drop a link in chat. Other new improvements happening. We'll hear from Dave in just a second about some of the new improvements happening in Gossipsub, which is used by a whole ton of blockchain ecosystems and is a core building block of the Libp2p project and community. Many different implementations are all helping make some pretty useful scalability and performance improvements there that can benefit all downstream users. And get excited for some of the events that are happening in the near-term future. The whole PL network is, or at least the Web3 components of the PL network are congregating at EthDenver in Denver later this month. So get your tickets. It'll be fun. There may or may not be a couple of days of ski trip. There's going to be a whole colo house for people to gather and share knowledge in. Check out events.plnetwork.io for the whole agenda. And if you're a part of or adjacent to the Filecoin community, get excited for the next Filecoin Developer Summit, number 6, which is happening in Toronto alongside Consensus in May. All right, with that, I will hand it over to project updates, starting with Libp2p.
Thank you, Molly. So my name is Dave Grantham. I'm here to talk about Libp2p. It is the modular network stack that's used by most of the projects you're going to hear about today, if not all of them, including a whole bunch of other Web3 projects outside of the PLN now. And we're making inroads into AI. All right, so quick community update. I have exactly 1 minute, ready, go. So Q1 priorities for 2025. Like Molly mentioned, Gossipsub is the big thing right now. So I wanted to point out that the NIM Libp2p project, which is supported heavily by Status and the Waku team, specifically his handle is Farouk. He's a great guy doing a lot of research on scaling Gossipsub. There's a number of specifications out there that are being discussed, and we're doing works in progress implementations across many of the Libp2p projects, Go, JS, Rust. The Python Libp2p project is diving all in on this. Same with the C++, and I think we're even trying to find some money to help with the JVM implementation as well. Rust and JS are having the biggest community meetings I have ever seen. In fact, we broke records this month. The community meeting had more people than we've ever had in the history of Libp2p. And Rust is now averaging somewhere like 17 to 20 contributors every meeting. JS is also growing strongly, and the Python one is just a party. We just had a 2-hour meeting because there were so many people there. So moving forward, I guess if you guys missed it, there were some announcements around the Ethereum Beam chain and how some of the projects we're building with C++, which has breathed new life into the C++ Libp2p project. And so that has got a lot of energy. And if you're interested in getting into a project that needs some help and could gain you some recognition, that is a really great opportunity right now. Metrics. Well, we're still continuing to grow unique contributors each month, slowly. We grew 8% last year. We saw a huge dip in the actual merges in January, but that's a lagging indicator. I'm not worried about it because look at the meetings. We broke all kinds of records in January, and we continue to break them here in January or in February. So those numbers are probably going to be way higher next month. The other thing I want to point out, I know it's been like 2 minutes. I'm sorry, Molly. The last thing I want to point out is that Libp2p shifting focus away from having 3 large Libp2p day events this year to hosting learn how to use Libp2p workshops everywhere that will take us. So in the next month and a half, we've got like 3 or 4 of them coming in. We're going to be doing State of Scale at EthDenver. We're probably going to have a community meetup at the PLN stuff that Molly just mentioned, finalizing that right now, actually. We're going to be at the Personal AI Symposium in Pasadena in March. Manu, the new maintainer, Manu Gupta, if he wants to jump in and say hello, he's the new maintainer of Python Libp2p. He's going to be speaking at an event in March as well. We're looking at doing workshops in Paris P2P in April. We're going to be at FIL Toronto. Like, we're going to be everywhere. So we're in everything. So now we're going to be everywhere. And now I'm going to hand it over to Yiannis to do a Gossipsub update.
Hi everyone, Yiannis here from the Lab team at IP Shipyard. A couple of updates here. We've been working on Gossipsub and its use in the Ethereum network. There has been quite a bit of discussion. As you know, the Vectra update is coming in a few months, and there has been a proposal to increase the blob count. So there was a burning question in the community whether nodes have enough bandwidth to propagate more blobs, send and receive. So we made a bandwidth availability study. We used our previously developed tool called Herms, which you might have heard about. There is this very extensive study on ETH research, and the conclusion we came up with was that in agreement with other teams, there is the proposed target blob upgrade from 3 to 6 to 6 to 9 is a reasonable one that is not going to break the network or cause any damage to even solo stakers, which has been a very encouraging thing to make Ethereum scale using Libp2p protocols. There has been also a podcast and interview in the Infinite Jungle, which is linked over there, discussing all these things. Based on that, we have proposed, nevertheless, some updates and optimizations to Gossipsub, in particular, some dynamic message diffusion to reduce the number of duplicate messages and other similar things. There are 2 GitHub issues there in the consensus spec repository of the Ethereum project. So follow along if you want. We have done a couple of talks at DevCon back in November. That's quite a bit in the past, but it touches on preliminary things that led to these kinds of research outputs. So follow along there if you want. Last but not least, as of recently, we do have the block arrival times in the Ethereum blockchain posted as weekly reports on problab.io. So the link is there, but if you follow problab.io and navigate to Ethereum, you're going to find those reports there together with their methodology. And soon we're going to have quite a few of these results served through an API from our database, the data lake that we have, to the community. So sign up if you're interested in, just send an email to the team and we can take it from there. More updates to come, but for now, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Yiannis. Over to IPFS folks to give us an update there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mosh. As you may know, IPFS is the data and content stack for Web 2, 3, and beyond. So IPFS is pushing forward on the same 4 pillars that we were working on last year, continuing to this year. They are adoption, gaining a greater market share of total internet traffic. The second is building blocks, so carving out modular components that solve real user and dev needs. 3 is community and governance. And 4 is making that public network download free and highly resilient. So I'll start with some highlights from the first 6 weeks or so of this year, and then move into talking about what's happening for the rest of the first half of this year. Blue Sky continues to grow. It's reached 31 million users. We have some promising conversations and collaborations with ActivityPub too to evaluate CIDs for bandwidth savings at the relay layer. So this might be like the unifying like love connection between @Proto and ActivityPub communities. Also have some other collaborations in the works. In terms of building blocks, the Shipyard team has published a couple really great little tools. The first is a deploy to IPFS GitHub action for really easy static site deployment to Storacha and optionally Pinata. Second is an IPNS inspector. I'll put links to all of this in the side chat later. And then work continues on the Dazzle family of sort of micro specifications. Dazzle was published right before the holidays. Razzle, which is the HTTP-based retrieval for that, has been published, and an implementation is now live on NPM. And then Mazzle, which is the metadata part of this, is an initial draft and very open to comments. And so for the rest of this year, we are pushing forward on a pathway to IETF acceptance for CIDs. The best case would be that it's drafted and worked on in the next few months, and then gets approved in July at the Madrid meeting. And then more work on Dazzle and Mazzle. Kubo is going to be working on providing improvements, IPNI. HTTP support, lots of other stuff, which I'm sure the Shipyard team will be telling you about later in this session. And then also digging into some of the recent work archiving data sets on IPFS and looking for opportunities to improve the pipeline or create new products or packages that make that process a lot more smooth. The IPFS community has been really active in the past month and a half at FOSDEM, the Paris AI Summit, EU Disinformation Lab, Article 19, talking about CIDs, verifiability, algorithmic choice. And then we are also going to be at RightsCon in late February, hosting an IPFS meetup in Taipei at the end of February alongside RightsCon. Daniel will be giving a talk at JS Nation in June. And then we are going to be booting the Gateway Users Advisory Group. So all the sort of organizational users for the Gateway, we'd like to create a forum for them to talk about, surface their needs, what they're doing, how they use it for their businesses or for the public good, to inform some of the transitions coming in sort of line 4 down below, which is to continue to push IPFS into an even more decentralized local first network, decreasing reliance on gateways and doing more in the browser. And the Igalia team through the IPFS Implementations Fund is advancing the Web Crypto API, secure WebSockets, WebTransport, WebRTC across all the popular browsers.
That is so much awesome content, and can't wait to continue following along with it at all of the great gatherings this month and beyond. I know we also have a big IPFS update from Shipyard folks.
Hi, we are Shipyard. We are building more resilient and participatory internet, mostly with IPFS and Libp2p. There's a bunch of updates on this slide, so I apologize for invading your senses. I think the TLDR would be to see the Kubo changelog. But the two main things that you can take away from this slide is one, the AutoTLS with Libp2p direct feature is being rolled out across the stack, both IPFS and Libp2p, and also both Go and JS reference implementations. There is a deep dive later, so I'll urge you to wait and listen to Adin's overview of the feature. But I'll just say that Go and JS parts interop to the point that the service worker gateway at inbrowser.link now supports direct retrieval from the providers that leverage AutoTLS feature for WebSockets. And that means you can go to inbrowser.link, try to open a website, and if that website is hosted by a Kubo node that has AutoTLS enabled, you will fetch the data directly. So the direct retrieval works like today. And that's mainly work in Boxo by Shipyard team, but the latest Boxo improvements landed in Kubo and IPFS desktop. All IPFS desktops get AutoTLS feature enabled by default. In Kubo, it's opt-in. And a big highlight, the second highlight on top of the AutoTLS feature rollout is Boxo improvements, especially in BitSwap and MFS packages. There's a lot of memory and stability improvements, and the two graphs on the bottom right, the yellow is the new version, the green is the previous Kubo version. And you can see the Go routine leak and the stability of the successful responses is night and day. So if you use Kubo for anything BitSwap or gateway related, we urge you to update. There's, of course, a dogfooding of that in smaller tools. We ship the IPNS inspector, and that tool is fully hosted end-to-end on the Kubo nodes that expose AutoTLS. And there's a service worker based hosting in browser.link if you want to see a glimpse of the future end-to-end. And the progress, things that are in progress are, we are working on HTTP retrieval. So instead of BitSwap over Libp2p over WebSockets, maybe just do the direct HTTP get. So we have a prototype running on a staging, and we will be working with Storacha team to see if things work well. The provider interface for Boxo and used in Kubo and all the collab clusters, we are looking into reworking it, so to support both IPNI and DHT. The Kubo itself likely at some point we'll make a decision to enable AutoTLS. Right now it's opt-in. Only the IPFS desktop users have it enabled as a soft launch, but you can opt in with the command at the bottom today, but we will likely have some heuristic to enable it automatically, so it's like turnkey. And the verified fetch, which is the service powering the service worker gateway at in-browser.link, will continue getting improvements on gateway conformance, so users will not see the difference when they switch to running at the edge, and also we want to have a similar level of visibility into what's happening, and we'll be surfacing that to end users through things like server timing and context. And once again, link is on the chat to the changelog.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Lidel. A lot of awesome stuff happening, and everyone should go around and play with inbrowser.link so that we can start using more and more of our decentralized resources going forward. All right, quick update on the Filecoin side of things. If you're not familiar, Filecoin is a crypto-powered storage network, the largest decentralized storage network in the world, aiming to create a decentralized, efficient, and robust foundation for humanity's information. Quick look back on how we kind of ended on our 2024 recap. We have amazing public betas across Basin, Akave, and Storacha, which are awesome and are continuing to scale and onboard users right now. I bet we're going to continue to hear awesome news from these folks over the next couple of months, and they all have updates shortly after this. And there's additional awesome work still happening around Pegasus and Safira that are all helping scale Filecoin storage adoption, which continues to be a top goal as we focus on 2025. On the web tooling side, around hot data and fast retrieval, fast finality is kind of the remaining chunk here that is planning to land in activation in a two-step process in NV25. We were able to ship a whole ton of stuff throughout the year on data aggregation, proof of data possession, payment smart contracts, and things like that. We have some really interesting design work that's happening around Filecoin Web Services, which is our kind of core focus there as we look into 2025. And then there's a ton of awesome growth and gathering opportunities, expanding the Filecoin economy and community. We had awesome gatherings in Thailand, saw a lot of new tooling being shipped by Ramo and Curio, completed the second round of Filecoin Retro PGF. And there's some new really interesting work that's happening on the fees and value accrual side that's aiming to land here in Q1 as we focus on 2025. These are the top 3 KPIs we talked about at the last Filecoin Dev Summit in Bangkok, focusing on-chain revenue from paid storage deals on Filecoin L1, scaling the number of clients on Filecoin who are very happy with their Filecoin usage. So more happy, successful clients and on-ramps, and then also scaling in-network activity in the Filecoin economy, which both includes the awesome work that's happening on Filecoin-backed stablecoins, scaling up like loan programs and other DeFi activity, and all the work that's happening right now around upgrading the network fees structure, simplifying termination fees, putting in a new per sector fee, minimizing gas fees, et cetera. And so that's kind of where our focus is in 2025 right now. But I'll hand it off to Orjan to tell us a bit more about NV25.
Thank you so much, Molly. Yeah, so we've been like reevaluating like the timelines for NV25 a couple of times, but we're now down to like 2 different tracks that we're targeting. One is with the F3 solo, and one is where we couple these and make a very meaty network upgrade with F3 and the onboarding fees FIP. And there are different like levels where we were considering like if the onboarding fees FIP doesn't make it to last call before this date, we'll go back to a F3 solo pipeline basically, or timeline. The last I heard earlier today is that onboarding fees is definitely going to hit the FIP last call target of February 14th. So we'll go down the right end of this table. So we're looking at a NV25 upgrade around late March, early April. I will note that there is some degree of uncertainty in some of these like dates because there is some implementations details that needs to be scoped, but we're definitely targeting like end of March, early April. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Orjan. Everyone get excited for TEEP, which I don't think I have enough video game knowledge to actually understand that joke, but it's because it's a focused shot to get all of these great things out to the network as soon as possible. All right, over to Marta for some FIL Plus updates.
Hello, hello. Yes, so loads of stuff happening in FIL Plus. We are moving to a meta allocator structure, which promises more efficiency in data cap allocation and better overall accountability of the allocators, which is awesome. We have now a manual pathway meta allocator where all the manual allocators will be moved under. FIDL continues to develop very detailed compliance reports for allocators and clients. You can find them in datacapstats.io and also under the compliance.allocator.tech. The governance team intends to reduce the amount of data cap flowing through manual allocators and moving towards automated and microgrid-based ones. So this is a change that you'll be seeing over the next few quarters, and I'm sure we'll be reporting back on how that's doing. We have Faucet that allows us to get 1 TIB of data cap just for experimentation, and we are trying to get better at communicating of what we're doing, because we're definitely doing a lot. So if we go to the next slide, I just wanted to quickly highlight that as you can see, the data cap used by allocators based on their compliance audit results month over month is increasing and improving. And this is exactly what we want to see. So I would call that a win. And on that high note, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And great to see this improvement over time. If you haven't yet checked out the awesome graphs that the team is working on to show how this program is getting better and keep improving over time, go check it out. Awesome. Over to Dan. Give us the Basin update.
Cool. Thank you. We've been working with 3Box Labs, another company in the PL umbrella, for the past like 6 to 12 months, and we've actually merged with them. So we're now operating all under the Textile company and brand umbrella, and we've been working with them to build out what we've been calling Basin. So it's this scalable L2 built with the IPC framework on top of Filecoin, and it gives developers a way to verifiably like store, access, and exchange information. And more specifically, we're really trying to target agent use cases and to like storing data permissionlessly, providing data availability, data exchange mechanisms for agents that are storing data on the network, and doing things like integrating with existing agent frameworks to make it easy to drop in some of the just like data that all agents are doing so much and they need a place to store that data. So we view it as a great enabler for building smarter and more knowledgeable agents across like different frameworks and whatnot. We'll have a lot more information coming out soon, so keep an eye out for some of the latest updates. Yeah, if you're interested in like specifically in AI or data creation, agent builder space, definitely reach out. We're looking for people to help test out the network in its early phases.
We'll keep our eyes peeled and very excited to continue seeing this all come to life, and now with even more teams helping push it forward. It's great to hear. Over to Hannah for our Storacha update.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, another spicy Storacha update. We're a little like overwhelmed right now because there's so much happening over at Storacha. It's kind of crazy. But let me just back up and say, what is Storacha? Very simple. Storacha is decentralized hot storage that just works. You want to put your storage you want to store on the decentralized web. You don't want to worry about how to make it work, how all the little particulars. You just want to know it's going to work well, and that's what we are in the business of doing. How do you know that? Well, for one, we onboard 5 terabytes of data to Filecoin every week, or about as much. So there's that. So one of the big focuses for Storacha this quarter is to be able to use Storacha in all kinds of new and exciting ways. We are going to be shipping a Telegram mini app to enable users on Telegram to back up their data through Storacha. We're working on a backup application for the Blue Sky network to enable people to have a restorable copy of their personal data stores, and would provide some decentralization resilience there. We are working on encrypted data using the Libp protocol is probably our main direction here. We've been working on an integration, and you'll start to see that will probably be like formally announced in like the next couple weeks. And then as well, we are just like everybody, Storacha is getting a play. We are getting into the AI agent game. We've got some really exciting plans here to build an AI Racha. We're going to be shipping some announcements to come soon, but we're looking at stuff for both for Gaia Network, Eliza, a couple others. We're just trying to. I'm working with a group called MotherDAO. I'm not the expert here on all the different groups, but we're trying to essentially make Storacha a reliable solution for essentially storing inference and data and whatnot. Cool. The other thing that we've been working on in the middle of all this is, Storacha had gotten a few hiccups and bumps in the road from as we try to ship so many new features. So we did a big stability push. We fixed a lot of issues. There's going to be for anyone who's complained about building in the past, we think we have that what issues we had there resolved. And you're going to see some pretty big gateway performance increases. We're already at about 200% faster time to first byte, but we want to be faster because the real thing that matters is the number and making sure it is in that, always consistently in that hot storage range. So we're working on that. And there's been a lot shipped, and there'll be more. And then a lot of folks probably wondering what is going on with all that decentralized network stuff that we announced at DevCon, and when it's going to be shipping to prod. And the short version is just a sneak preview is that we are probably going to be rolling out a lower cost tier for storing data, particularly for large data on borders. This is all, the sneak preview, not fully announced yet, and details to follow. And also, lastly, just come find us at EthDenver. We're gonna go to we're gonna be at the various colos. We are having a little lunch event. If you really want that invite, try to reach out and talk to us. And we're gonna be giving a bunch of talks at a bunch of places. So yeah, that's it. That's what we're up to. And special shout out to PLD Dev Guild. We have a whole bunch of folks participating, and it's really exciting. That's all.
Awesome. And yeah, extra +1 to PLDG on helping power all these folks. It's great. Amazing. Stefaan, you want to give us the Akave update?
Hi, everyone. Yes, of course. Akave is an L2 on Filecoin, is part of the rising L2s that are managing data on Filecoin. In short, we've released a bunch of new features. As maybe some of you know, we've been expanding on the capabilities to specifically support enterprise workloads. And one of our customers has asked us to integrate with Snowflake, which we've been working on. And that will be hopefully released soon. Our goal is to also release Akave Cloud by EthDenver. So lots of new things coming out, but in general, lots of improvements on the API. And as you know, we're focused on paying customers, and we've also expanded our ecosystem with new partners. Lots of decentralized AI networks. We see some decentralized social applications popping up, and some enterprises as well. And we've been collaborating with some data marketplaces like Chakra and Finistera. And then for those who want to see us, would love to meet you all at EthDenver. I'll be at the Deep End Day, doing some presentations and panels, and at the AIFI Summit as well. And then obviously there's a lot of side events where I'll be joining you guys, and hope to see you all soon.
Amazing. It's going to be such a good EthDenver. Lots to look forward to. All right, on to our shift and upcoming spotlights, starting with the Filecoin Dev Digest. Steve, tell us more.
Yeah, so the Filecoin Dev Digest, this is bi-weekly updates from engineering teams for engineering teams. This is coming out of some discussion back in Bangkok at FDS5, where a few problems were highlighted, right? Information scattering, not necessarily providing great visibility to the wider Web3 ecosystem about technical progress of Filecoin network teams, recognizing that there are some great newsletters and blog posts that go out, but they don't necessarily have some of the technical rigor that engineers want to dig into. And that, at this point, there are lots of, quote, smaller teams that may not have the PM or marketing muscle to ensure that they're getting regular, timely updates out. And it would be great if there's a train that they could join on to that would also have broader reach. And then recognizing that there is a weekly or biweekly Filecoin Stack Leads meeting that is covering a lot of this kind of content, but it's intentionally a gated meeting. So thanks to Sarah and the FIL B team, they've been taking a lot of that content and making it public in GitHub discussions, which is linked there at the top of the slide. And so you can subscribe there or get it in Slack if you want. That Slack command is listed in the slide. But ideally, this should be content that a builder in the Filecoin ecosystem wants to pay attention to, because we're assuming it's succinct and provides broad awareness of what other developments are happening. So this is an experiment at this point, but I kind of view it as a written corollary to the EngRes The Gathering, right? It's a good watering hole where you can show up and quickly learn about great work that's happening, and then have ways to, the ways that you can learn, partner and leverage that information, and then have links to dive into it to go deeper. So anyway, feel free to subscribe and leave feedback in the GitHub discussion if you have any. Thanks a lot.
Amazing. I love that there are GitHub powered subscriptions now. That's fantastic. Awesome. Over for our Safira update. Blue, you want to tell us a bit more about what Safira is if folks here aren't as familiar?
Yes, my name is Bhutendra Samoji. I'm the innovation lead at Safira. Long-time listener, first-time speaker. Thank everyone to take the time to say what we're working towards in the Safira project, which is a B2B-oriented IPC subnet of Filecoin. To that end, Safira is working on enabling a wider variety of storage classes with deal options that will appeal to commercial customers. Variable deal duration and renewal limits are one area of deal portfolio expansion. Another is the ability to have private subnets for large enterprises where they seamlessly participate in validation and roll up aggregate storage provider retrieval and performance history to the Safira network for private data. So in order to accomplish some of these objectives for our storage class offerings, we're working on extending POREP into the Safira subnet so that customers can use a combination of Filecoin mainnet archival storage as well as Safira native storage deals. In addition to network launch, we're in the process of open sourcing the Seal storage software as the Safira storage provider toolkit. The goal is to provide a turnkey white box solution that allows storage providers to reduce deal discovery and negotiation overhead and to interoperate with both Filecoin and Safira networks in tandem. Right now, we're in closed testnet phase, but looking to launch our public testnet and the SPTK by the end of Q2. And we're looking forward to engaging with early access participants at FDS6. Feel free to DM me on Filecoin Slack or Telegram if you are interested in early access participation. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Cool. And it sounds like y'all will also be joining the community in Toronto. So definitely
Absolutely.
follow along and get excited to ask some questions there. Awesome. On to Tom. Tell us about Retro PGF2's recap.
For sure. Hey, Molly. So FIL Retro PGF2 is almost complete, but a quick recap on where we've come from. So 300K FIL donated in this round, which is a huge amount. So shout out to Protocol Labs, Filecoin Foundation, and Hold On Global. To get awarded these funds, 162 projects applied and were voted on by 33 badge holders, and we ended up with 97 projects getting awarded funds. And you can see them here in this graph across many different categories, tons of excellent projects. So the phase that we've been in over the past couple of months, since December and January, is the distribution phase. So in December, we had test transactions being confirmed, and then the first batch of proper distributions going out in January. And this is super cool. So if you go to filecoin.drips.network, you can see the distributions happening. So you can see the funds flowing to all of these projects. So here there's an image, just in case you can't go to filecoin.drips.network, and you can see funds flowing to Curio, to Lighthouse, to FIL Oz, and to many other excellent projects in the ecosystem. And a cool thing to point out here, which you should also do if you're one of the projects who got funded, is you can also flow these funds on. So for example, on the right-hand side here, it shows Crypto Ecolab, and Crypto Ecolab keeps some of the funds that it was awarded by the round for maintainers, and then it flows other funds on to dependencies for projects that it thinks are impactful and good for the ecosystem. So this is a really cool feature to see. So what's up next in the distribution? For anybody who hasn't completed their test transactions or admin yet, they'll have another chance for the February distribution, and then a final chance in March, and then it will roll over to the next round. If you've got any issues, reach out to ops@fil-retropgf.io. And so we're getting pretty close to March, which means we're heading for round 3. And the goal for round 3 is going to be the kind of Zen stabilization round. So same as before, except scaling up. This will help us get more efficient. And something we're really looking for is much more community feedback to keep on refining. So if you have any feedback or want to get involved, please reach out on Telegram.
Woohoo. Awesome. It's so cool to see Drips actively dripping things out to the community. Really awesome. Okay, Jared, tell us about PLDG Cohort 2.
All right. Hey, folks. Happy Thursday. Great to see you all. Jared here, part of our PLDG team. If you're not familiar with PLDG, we accelerate open source across PLN by working with so many of the technology partners and teams on this call to reward contributors based on the impact that they create. We started this work just over 9 months ago and have come a very long way. I want to give 2 shout outs, or actually 3 shout outs. Excuse me. One is to Manu, who was recognized earlier. He has been part of our cohort now for 2 cycles and recently joined as a core maintainer for Libp2p. Huge. And 2 of our other core team members, and Corey James and Anuba, who have been instrumental in making this program happen. When we started this program, we set out to say, how might we build a flywheel that this can actually be a sustainable way to scale the velocity and quality of contributions that happens to open source by attracting really smart and talented people, enabling them to do great work, but most importantly, delivering real technology outcomes and amplifying that work. And so we're really proud of some of the impact that has been created. For those of you who care about education, we have really focused on getting our time to value and time to first commit down. It started at about 14 days, took folks about 2 weeks to kind of really dive in. We've gotten that down to 4 days, which is really, really encouraging, and essentially 2x our cohort growth from the previous cohort. So our current cycle is going to run through mid-April, which is really exciting. And then we're going to essentially launch our subsequent cohort of cohort 3 right in early May. And so if you are on this call and you're interested in having more folks contribute to your stack, please reach out to myself or Anuba, who's also on this call. We'd love to chat, see how we can best work together and really scale. Thank you all for your time.
Amazing. I'm so excited that this program continues to grow so amazingly. So keep it up. All right, Orjan, give us a deeper dive update on all that's been happening with F3 testing and activation.
Of course. Yeah, so a lot has happened since the last update back in November, December 2024. We scaled up like F3 passive testing on mainnet. We scaled it from like 1% to 100% of the network. And we encountered some challenges, of course. We did see that progress was not as consistent as we really hoped. And this is an issue because inconsistent finalization affects, for example, like F3 APIs. So builders building on top of this and seeing like inconsistencies can make it seem like F3 is broken, and that's not ideal. The second issue or challenge that we saw is that the steady state of F3 wasn't as fast as we hoped, and we want fast finality to be really fast. So we came to the conclusion that we need to reduce the bandwidth usage, and we're going to do that mainly by compressing messages and hashing the chain. And the need of like shipping these improvements, we encountered another kind of challenge, which is like the Filecoin network upgrade bottleneck, where we would actually need to have like one upgrade to ship these improvements and then another for setting the activation date. So the great F3 engineers came up with a solution to this in FRC 19.9, which is we're going to delegate the authority to set these F3 parameters for activation to a smart contract. So that removes like the need for having a network upgrade just to activate F3 on mainnet. So our plan going forward is going to ship these improvements in NV25 and hopefully activate in April. We also opened a discussion about F3 incentivization in the FIPS repo. This is to ensure that we have like full F3 participation all the time to bring like the best service and experience possible to end users.
Cool. And hopefully we'll see it live in the network pretty soon, and everyone can start benefiting and taking advantage of it very shortly. All right, Zen, give us a quick update on what's happening with PDP, proof of data possession in Filecoin.
So happy Valentine's Day, everybody. This is basically Phil Oz's Valentine to all of you. So I'm really excited about proof of data possession. So we're basically creating a totally new functionality in the network. On top of POREP, you can now have very fast, very cheap, very easy to store data storage in a decentralized, provable way. So if that's the one thing you can take away, PDP is exciting and it's a new thing. You can compose it with POREPs. You can get some sort of guarantees that your data is live and super available without long unseal times on your POREP data. You can just have straight PDP data. This might be really nice for storage providers who want really low setups. I myself, with my simple $100 a month machine in the cloud, can just serve PDP right now. And that makes me really excited. Yeah, so basically this is getting close to wrapping up. We have a contract. So this is all built out in user space. We have a contract doing the proof checking. We have Curio integration. End-to-end testing is actually going well after some hiccups in the last week or two. Functionality is getting pretty much there. At this point, we're focusing more on launch. So audit scheduled in a couple of weeks. We're trying to build out a nice demonstration web explorer so you can understand what's happening in the network. And we're hoping to launch some sort of usage of PDP for the Filecoin snapshots, because it would be a really nice thing to actually have verifiability that our snapshots are available. There's a bunch of users who are excited in the mid to longer term. If you're interested in running PDP-SP or getting involved with any of these launch plans, take a look at the Slack channel that I dropped. I'll drop it again, hashtag FIL-PDP. You can get at us there. We're looking at a launch date somewhere in mid to late March right now. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Exciting days. Everyone get excited to start fetching your Filecoin data from our PDP hot lake so that we no longer have to stick our snapshots on AWS. Huzzah. It's going to be great. All right. Heading it over to Elsa to tell us about all the things coming up with Filecoin events.
Yeah, so Elsa with Filecoin Foundation's events team, and this is what we have coming up in the pipeline for events. First, next week, our Orbit ambassadors, ND Labs, they will be hosting a Filecoin meetup around Consensus Hong Kong. So if you or anyone you know will be attending Consensus Hong Kong, please have them stop by. But immediately after that, Filecoin at EthDenver, like people have mentioned before, will be hosting an L2 and service operators colo with Phil Oz, as well as an executive leaders roundtable luncheon with D-Store. And then many different sponsorships like Fluence's Deepin Day we're sponsoring, Storacha's private luncheon, Shelling Point by Gitcoin, as well as Glyph's pool party. And then some other events we're hosting is the dog fooding workshop, as well as Code and Corgi with Phil B. I wanted to flag a new format for FIL Dev Summit. So based on feedback from past FDS attendees wanting more time to workshop together and problem solve together in real life, in addition to the FDS in real life that we're hosting around Consensus Toronto, we will be hosting a virtual FIL Dev Summit 2 weeks ahead. It will be from April 23rd to April 30th. And the plan is we're going to track out each day, and each track will have 2 hours each day. So more to come there, but please save the date and plan to attend. And also in April, we're planning on hosting a second Filecoin Uncharted around Token 2049. And then I listed out some of the activations that we will be doing around Consensus Toronto, which is FIL Toronto, which consists of FIL Dev Summit, our sponsorship at Consensus Toronto, as well as a Filecoin Penthouse. But everything about these upcoming events can be found in fil.org/events.
Cool. Well, put it on your calendars, everyone, and get ready to meet up in person in addition to our virtual gatherings. It's going to be a great gathering. I hope I see many of you there in person. There's a co-work and event hub that's going to be happening from February 25th to March 2nd. So space to meet up, meeting rooms. Every night there's going to be kind of like evening gatherings for the community to just like have drinks and talk about whatever they saw that day that was crazy. There's also a whole group that is helping coordinate speaking opportunities across many different side events across the PL network. So get in touch on this form, this little QR code, if you're looking for speaking opportunities. There's also this IRL gatherings page, which is, I think, events.plnetwork.io, I think, if I remember correctly. And you can submit your event so that folks can see it and bond and connect. There's also a Telegram group that you can join here for everyone who's planning to hang out in Denver, chill your events, find other people on the PL network that are going to be in town, come to our founders dinner, all of the other fun things that are happening in Denver. So get excited. And you can also ping Nikki if you want support or event outreach or other things like that. It's going to be a good time. Cool. And we are just about done, but we have a couple more deep dives. We have some really good stuff to share here. And I'll hand it off to Luca to deep dive on Filecoin retrievability.
Thank you, Molly. Luca here from FIL's team. I will be really quick. We just released publicly the first guide to retrievability on Filecoin. Let me just briefly touch on what it is, why we do that, and give you some example. So what is the guide about? We want this to be an entry point for anyone which is interested to know more about Filecoin and specifically retrievability on Filecoin. And so we try to group all the different angles under which you can think about retrievability in our network. Specifically, you will find a section on state of the art, like what can we done today, and what will be doable in the short future. We have a section on metrics, like which are the metrics that influence the retrievability experience, or at least the ones that we had in mind. We then switch to like payment alternatives and strategies, like how would you pay for retrievability in Filecoin, which are the options, which are the alternatives, which are the pros and cons of each of those, and why you would pick one or the other. We also speak about how SP select clients and how clients select SP, and which are the different methodologies and alternatives that one have there. And we also present some potential ideas for the improvement of the retrievability experience. Why did we decide to do that? The big picture is like we are convinced that we need to foster a wide discussion on how retrievability should look like in Filecoin in order for Filecoin to be successful long term. And specifically, we want to know from the community what people think that should be improved, how should we move forward, both as a community and as like protocol designers and people directly working on that, and specifically if there is any gap that people want to be filled and why. You find the full guide at the link there. Let me give you some example. One thing that we have been thinking through in the last few weeks and months is about retrieval payments. The question is like, how do people pay for the retrievals, or how they would pay for the retrievals? They would prefer like paying with like the Filecoin tokens. They would prefer to pay with like stable coins that are like in the origin. Do they prefer paying in like in another manner? Why this is the case, and how can we like act in order to things to change? Which are the things that could be a game changer for the user's experience in this framework. About metrics, what are the retrieval metrics that users value most? Why this is the case, and why we should focus on like some with respect to others, and especially with the respect of like retrievability guarantee. We have many tools that either are existing today in Filecoin or will be shipped really soon or will be refined really soon. PDP is one of those. Spark and the next iteration is going to be one of the other, one another. But do we really need? Do user feel the need of like guaranteed retrieval by incentives, by having committees whose job is like guaranteeing that retrieval are actually happening, and maybe giving some sort of like incentives and punishment if this happens or does not happen? Is it a direction where we should invest our time as protocol designers and as a community at large, or like reputation systems and like deals between user and between clients and SPs are enough for people selling storage and buying storage on Filecoin? These are some of the aspects that we will be touch in the dedicated track that will happen in Denver from February 23rd to February 27th. And we hope to foster a discussion also on Slack, where we just opened a Filecoin retrievability channel that you can find out there.
Thank you so much, Luca. Jump into FIL Retrievability if you have some thoughts or comments here. Over to Adine to tell us more about AutoTLS, which is super exciting.
Hi, so I'm Adine. I'm here to tell you about Shipyard's work on AutoTLS, which is an Acme DNS broker to enable Libp2p and IPFS nodes to be accessible from web browsers. All right, so the issue is web browsers today can't communicate with most Libp2p or IPFS nodes because the browser transports are limited to HTTP, WebSockets, WebRTC, and Web Transport. WebRTC and Web Transport would be good options, but due to sort of a series of browser bugs, missing features, etc., is quite problematic. HTTP and WebSockets are mature and widely supported, which is very nice, but to use them, you need to have a certificate from a certificate authority, which can be painful. The Acme protocol, which was designed for use with Let's Encrypt, makes automating getting a certificate from a CA easy. But to do so, you need to complete challenges that allow you to prove to the certificate authority that you control the origin you're getting the certificate from. So you could use HTTP to prove that you own a given IP address, but that means you need to control ports 80 or 443, which is frequently not feasible for normal users. You could use DNS, which doesn't require this port thing, but it does require you to control a domain name, which means like buying and managing a domain name, which can be painful. And then also updating the IP records with whatever Byzantine put system is available for your DNS provider, which also is no fun. Which leads us to AutoTLS. Next slide. Which is to provide a public goods HTTP and DNS service at Libp2p.direct, which is managed by the Shipyard team, where you can show up with your Libp2p node and prove to the DNS broker that you control the given peer ID because you have your private key, which will let you put a DNS proof for acmechallenge.yourpeerid.libp2p.direct, which will let Let's Encrypt do its job of saying, oh, yes, you can, in fact, control peerid.libp2p.direct and then give you a certificate. We did some work with Let's Encrypt and the folks who manage the public suffix list to make sure that libp2p.direct is an effective TLD, like .co.uk is an effective TLD, which means that each peer ID is like its own namespace and own universe. They're not tied together from the perspective of how applications like browsers and such treat subdomains. We also don't have to worry about how you update your IP address because you can encode it in the domain name. So like 1-2-3-4.lib.peerid.libp2p.direct will just resolve to 1.2.3.4, and you are good to go. Next slide. So why? AutoTLS makes Libp2p and IPFS just usable from the web. Asterisk, no nats allowed, but that's sort of a web thing. And you can just turn it on. It should just work. In Go Libp2p and in Kubo, you can just use the same port you already have. You don't have to open new ports, new port forwarding, change all your Docker stuff. It just will do the thing. And this enables us moving towards a more resilient web. So instead of having, in IPFS's case, having lots of traffic proxied via dweb.link, you can use a service worker gateway like in browser.link that will reach out to the peers and fetch from them directly. You can embed light nodes sort of in your web application, both in the IPFS case, but also groups like Celestia are using WebSockets this way. And we've done analysis with and built some infrastructure that uses AutoTLS to help in Celestia's case as well. And also it starts letting us build IPFS nodes as just regular HTTP providers, which right now there are a few groups that do, namely some Filecoin SPs and Storacha, but that's because they're willing to run infrastructure and manage domain names and such, which a regular person will not do. Next slide. So if you want to use this thing, back one, you can do it today. It's opt-in in Kubo. It's enabled by default in IPFS desktop. If you want to see this at the networking layer, you can check out the Go and JS Libp2p examples. There's a blog post on the Libp2p blog. And you want to see how some of the sausage is made, you can look at ipshipyard/p2pforge on GitHub, which has the libp2p.direct backend as well as the Go AutoTLS client. All right. Thanks. You can find me and the other Shipyard folks on all of the IPFS and Libp2p chat forums, etc., or hit us up at contact@ipshipyard.com if you are curious or want to do more stuff to make the web more resilient.
Dude, this is cool. Love it. I'm excited to go play around with it in my latest IPFS desktop version. All right. Last but not least, over to Benjamin. Would love to hear a little bit more about the cool stuff you're doing around IPFS and machine learning.
Hey there. So my name is Benjamin Barber, but I'm also known as Endomorphosis around the different communities that I'm in. I have like a partner and a junior dev, and we've been working for about 2 years on 3D animated AI avatars, and we open source our infrastructure stuff through Lion AI, which is a German nonprofit, and they're working on this classroom buddy so that all the kids that got locked down during COVID won't have to be without educators. Anyway, so I thought I'd bring this kind of research-oriented stuff to your attention because it's kind of where things are going to be going in the future. I've been having such a hard time with this Python stuff, porting it over to Libp2p because there isn't great Libp2p support in Python. And every day, I just hope I can get closer to moving everything over to web neural networks and web GPU, which is not quite a standard yet with the W3 standardized group. It's like a draft, but it will be probably standardized sometime, probably June, I would guess. I made like a little DeepSeek LLM in one day, and I put a little screenshot there. It's not like anything's supposed to be polished. But the nice thing about this web GPU is that it's going to have bindings to WASM. So now you can sort of containerize your entire MLOps infrastructure in WASM and run it either in a browser or Docker. And this also is kind of cool with the Gaussian splatting because you can have each neuron control one of the splats and have a completely different rendering method where you don't have to even rely on like pre-generated meshes or anything. You just have a text description and it renders your environment. And so one of the major things that I've been doing with IPFS is to wrap the Hugging Face services with IPFS extensions. I call that the IPFS Hugging Face Bridge, and also been building a GraphRag database for Wikipedia for the education process, and doing the same for all of the United States case law. And I think that with this web neural network, we'll be able to achieve this self-describing data. Like you can have a widget on your web page, and when you put your file into the widget, it can just generate embeddings or a knowledge graph, and then you can ship that knowledge graph and the embeddings up to IPFS or Storacha or Filecoin. And so that we can actually start to search through the contents, or maybe have a bot that crawls the contents and creates a knowledge graph or creates a vector embedding so we can search what's actually on the network itself. I have like some stuff for vector embeddings, but it definitely needs work. It's all in Python, for example, and I'm using some clunky bridges. Let me see. And then I want to mention that if we have all this content in IPFS, why aren't we training our language models to use IPFS CIDs? So like if I have a vector embedding, I can quantize that vector embedding and turn it back into tokens, and then train the language model with the tokens, and also with the CID. So like when you're writing you have your code generator, right? You're having the ability to like insert CIDs where you would normally put like f.read into your program. And I think that this is going to be a really interesting way of going about it. And what we do at Lion is we're sort of using IPFS as the data lake to synthesize new data, and like we have these different pipelines that we use to sort of refine data. I also want to mention that there's like this thing called tool former or agent calling, where like if we do give the language model the ability to output CIDs or output Libp2p IDs, then what tool former does is it says, if I see the special token, I'm going to stop generation. I'm going to fork a process. I'm going to wait for the process to return. Then I'm going to return its value into the context window, and then keep language modeling again. And there needs to be some sort of good standard how we sort of do this. But I think this is a very good source of research right now. And maybe with like the whole agent thing, you can put entire Windows 98 or Arch Linux or whatever you want right now in a web browser, and that can be completely sandboxed. And so I kind of think that this is also a really useful way to like sort of create these microservices. So it doesn't really matter what like your stack is. You can sort of turn any Git repository into like a microservice living on Libp2p. That's kind of, in my theory, what should be done. And then you take these different Git repositories or Hugging Face classes and use them as tools that you sort of compose into the solution, the end solution you're trying to get to. However, doing all this is going to have to take some rethinking of security, because you're no longer just worrying about like the actual physical layer of security, like someone hacking into your system. But like if we're now treating like the code on the IPFS network as like self-replicating agents, like that brings into weird like game theory problems of like selfish genes, including the entire data pool with selfish replicating code snippets and stuff. So I hope that if anybody is interested in these sort of research avenues, they'll reach out to me or something, or someone else takes up the mantle, because it's been a lot of work over the past 2 years.
Awesome. Ben, is there some place that people can connect or follow along that maybe you can drop into the chat? Sounds like Manu is also excited to reach out about some of the challenges you've been having with Python Libp2p to smooth that out a bit.
Yeah, I'm known as Endomorphosis on Discord, and I'm in like the IPFS Discord, which is a good place for you to find me. Or I'm hosting daily paper discussions in the Yiannis Kilcher Discord, like that we get from ArcSiv. So we read every day and on weekends research papers to unpack them.
Awesome. Well, getting CID embedded into AI agents and connections to Hugging Face sounds like a very worthwhile chunk of work. So thanks for sharing it. And it sounds like a chunk of folks are going to be following up with you to learn more and see how they can help. Awesome. And with that, thank you all so much for sharing all of the latest engineering and research work across this lovely network. Remember, don't wait for the future to happen. Let's all build it together. And if you would like to share in the next EngRes The Gathering, please reach out. You can message on Luma or I think EngRes admin at protocol.ai, and then we can follow up and make sure that all of the great work that everyone's doing is getting highlighted and shared so that other people can jump in and support. And with that, have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Go and celebrate some Valentine's Day tomorrow and see many of you in Denver, Toronto, or elsewhere in the world over the next couple months. Bye, friends.